Employees of IKEA, what are some of the worst family meltdowns you have seen? Not a meltdown, but one of my favorite stories to tell people. My now husband and I were driving to IKEA, about 3 hours away, and this was at a point in dating when we were starting to get serious. On the trip, I found out his middle name was Riley, and I mentioned how it could make a very cute girl name. He was completely aghast and was very firm in stating that Riley is a boy's name, and had been handed down in his family for over 5 generations. I tried telling him that it was starting to change over to be a girl's name now, much like Ashley or Quinn. He thought I was crazy and was adamant that people do not name little girls Riley. We light-heartedly argued the point for a good 15 minutes. We finally get to IKEA, park, and walk in the front door. 5 feet in front of us a little girl of about 2 goes running by and her mother is chasing after her, saying, "Riley, get back here." My husband just looked at me defeated and said, "Shut up." Our firstborn girl was named Riley. We carried on the family tradition, just in a slightly different way. I have a son named Quinn. I know how he feels. Seems like I hear about 3 girl Quinns for every boy Quinn. I once went through the couch section and overheard a couple arguing about what color couch they should choose. Being the idiotic dolt that I am, I pointed at a pink couch saying, "Hey, that pink couch looks great." The couple proceeds to look at me and said $K off and walked past the section while arguing. Never have I ever stood in days for so long. Never have I ever stood in days for so long. Should have just owned it, man. Stand proud. My sister not self-aware at all. She yells and screams at her boyfriend while he ignores her and does his own thing in the store. All of this because she demands that he stay right by her to look at every little thing she points out. 5 minutes later, when she's done having a one-sided fight with him, she's basically dry-humping him in public to compensate for the behavior. He also ignores this, and that's when it starts over again. I can't go to IKEA with them anymore. It's too embarrassing. She will scream my name through the IKEA restaurant because she's too lazy to take a step aside so that she can see everyone in the restaurant and find me. She doesn't care if this bothers the other costumers. Jesus Christ, no offense, but your sister is my personal nightmare. This thread made me realize why my marriage works. While we might argue a lot, we go to IKEA about 4 times a year, but have never set foot in the showroom. We shop online and measure to confirm. The kids go to grandma's, while I get dropped off at the warehouse to skate around on the cart, get what we decided on and eventually bring it out to the car, while she's waiting in the parking lot. Just stick to the warehouse. It's very peaceful seeing all those nice, grey rectangles of endless possibility, knowing you'll be leaving happily with only 3 of them, for the price you already budgeted for. But go to warehouse, pick 3 random boxes. IKEA like a pro. Not a meltdown or an employee, but I was in an IKEA when a random lady grabbed my hand, pulled me over to the bookshelf section, and told me all about the number of books she hoped to fit on one, color scheme of her bedroom, etc. It was pretty weird, but I gave her my best advice on bookshelves and made it back to my boyfriend, who was about 20 feet away looking at me with "Should I come save you" eyes. IKEA is a weird place, man. I don't work here, lady. I've been working at IKEA for the past 2 years. It made me lose hope for humanity. I have so many things. I've had someone try to return an entire used kitchen that was for his mom's house and the mother passed away. Guy was freaking screaming at my manager. Had a couple get into an argument about the size of the furniture and whether it fit into their car. By the end it escalated to who has the louder voice. It's endless, lol. Just don't remember any off the top of my head. I mean, you can technically return things even if they've been used, and even without a receipt, as long as it's been bought in the last year. I've even been able to get price adjustments. But yeah, trying to get a refund on an already installed kitchen is probably a bit much. Seen a dude in the car park of the Newcastle IKEA cram a frick load of furniture into his Ford Focus. Wife stood next to him freaking screaming at how much of an idiot he is for buying so much, how they aren't going to fit in the car now, and how he is putting all this furniture together alone because it's his freaking stupid crap we don't need. Husband replies, "No, you won't fit in the car now," and drives off. I once saw a young couple argue. The girl needed a new mattress. but the guy didn't want to carry it or get a cart for her. They left without a mattress. I love my job. To be fair, unless it was a twin, carrying a mattress is not a one-person job. Source: moving my queen mattress in and out of 2 separate second floor bedrooms in 2 years while in college. Pretty much Ross with his couch. Currently in IKEA making the most of my complimentary cups of tea. The couple at the next table over just had a brilliant argument about whether or not they could put a TV in their bathroom. He thinks it will fit. Wife girlfriend thinks it's the stupidest freaking idea ever. They don't need it. It won't fit, and if he wants to do that then he can move back in with his mother. And he keeps asking her to give him half of her dame cake. After about 5 minutes of whining, she told him if wanted some he should have bought one because apparently he always does this. I might follow them around the rest of the shop to see what else happens. Update: couple didn't kill me for stalking them. I just ran out of battery. I followed them for a while before I found it way too awkward. The caffeine from 4 complimentary cups of tea kicked in and I needed to get out of there. I left them in soft furnishing textiles. He was playfully throwing pillows at her to get her attention. She turned around and said, scarily calmly, I know that you think you're being funny, but you're not. So if you're going to act like a child, I will treat you like a child. Start behaving like an adult or we'll leave now and I'll take away your Xbox for a week. He pouted and marched off, muttering under his breath, IKEA Bristol lady, if you're out there, I hope he grows up, and also I really like the peacock blue pillow you bought. Also, to answer the many questions about free tea, I live in the UK, and if you're an IKEA card holder you get free tea and coffee Monday to Friday. Updates on updates. Dudes, I get it. Some of you find it funny to throw pillows at your SOS. But ask yourself 1. Did they find it funny 2, and 2. Did they repeatedly ask you to stop? Go buy 3 dame cakes. Find couple. Loudly proclaim how you always have so many extra snacks you can't possibly eat them all. Seduce man. Get TV in your bathroom. This was my IKEA family meltdown. My then boyfriend and I were getting our own place just after college. Until then, we had both been using twin beds thanks to student living spaces, and sharing a single twin was proving uncomfortable for 2 adult humans subjected to California summer temperatures. To fix this issue, off to IKEA we went. Things start off okay. We start with lunch, admire the living room couches, move into kitchenwares, all so far enjoyable fantasy, and then we reach our destination, bedrooms. A sea of beds in a variety of price points greet us with brightly colored duvets. An experienced furniture purchaser, I start scanning the price tags to narrow the options. I bring him to an attractive affordable model I think matches some of our bookcases. And this is where the trouble starts. See, up until now, I didn't realize exactly how bad this man's fear of decision making was. He stares at the bed incomprehensibly for literal minutes, refusing to talk about it. Eventually it is discovered that buying a bed means committing to delaying graduate school, never moving to the East Coast, and having children with me. I don't understand that logic and request explanation, which is slowly and tearfully given. We spent 3 hours in that IKEA and left with nothing. About a month later we went back and again after several hours bought that exact bed. He never went to grad school or moved to the East Coast. We also did not have children and broke up a few years later. He took the bed. No filmmaker could put any more symbolism into that one bed if they tried. Going to be buried, but my friend used to work at the IKEA across the street from the Mall of America. Some background: the MOA has an amusement park in the center. It's currently called Nickelodeon Universe, but for the first 15 years or so it was called Camp Snoopy. In 2006 the MOA lost the Snoopy franchise and rebranded to the generic The Park at MOA before they acquired the Nickelodeon sponsorship. A few days after they changed from Camp Snoopy happened, my friend was working at the daycare at the IKEA. She heard a child ask their mother, "What happened to Snoopy?" The mother responded without missing a beat, "Snoopy died." Cue the child bawling her eyes out inconsolably, to the point where they wouldn't let the mother leave the child at the daycare. As a bonus, my friends and I started and still refer to the amusement park as Snoopy Memorial Park. As my wife and I were finishing up and walking to the registers, the couple in front of us was somewhat quietly arguing about something in their cart. Finally it came to a head when the female in front of us said something along the lines of, "I just don't understand why we aren't getting the lamp." And at that point, her partner lost it. He turned to her and quite loudly yelled, "I will snap your neck." They didn't get the lamp. They did however give my wife and I a line to say to each other in jest every time we're at IKEA. Pro tip: shop on IKEA's website from the comfort of your home. Then, after you have decided, go and check the items out in person. This way, you already know what you're looking for and will have a much better time. This is why I own 7 Kallax shelves. Was about 12 years old at the time. A glorious bygone era it was. Frosted tips, holographic pencil cases, and punked was all the rage. So one day at IKEA my dad's looking at was going down a line of them, appraising each one individually. So I hatched the genius scheme to hide in one of his upcoming armwares and scare the living bejeebus out of my old man. Waiting patiently encased within my Swedish pod, the illuminated crack of light slipping through the aperture between the doors darkens. That means it's showtime. I brace myself for maximum spookage. The door quickly swings open. I let out a loud BAA, which is promptly silenced by the sight of a little hijabed woman, confused, hurt, rightfully so, out of her wits. 2 male companions arrive and begin berating me, I think, in Arabic, while I stand frozen in shock with father nowhere in sight. I make a hasty escape in the middle of this stern talking to, eventually coming across my family elsewhere and remaining very, very quiet for the rest of that day. I'm not an employee, but I once saw a kid tantrum cause his family moved past the kid room with the slide-equipped bunk bed. He followed up by breaking a display television. It was too much of a scene for me, so I continued on to the end to buy some cinnamon rolls. You know what they say, if you can't get it, might as well destroy something of equal value or higher. Bet they were proud. My mum had one. We'd gone to IKEA hunting for kitchens and decided to get breakfast first. We queued for ages for a breakfast, before someone informed us that we were in the wrong line and had to switch. Just after we moved, they closed the breakfast line and refused to serve us. My mum just sort of lost it. She complained to the manager about the attitude of the staff and the lack of line signage and then started crying. She must have looked crazy. What no one would have known is that we'd been looking at kitchens to distract ourselves from the death of my grandma earlier that week. Every little thing was setting my mum off because it was all still so raw. The manager was quite sympathetic when my mum cried, even though she had no idea why mum was so upset, and I was always really grateful for that. Sadly, I've had my own IKEA family meltdown. When I was 19, my then boyfriend of 3 months, who I'd already had a terrible relationship with, moved to Europe for college. Being that I was 19 and dumb, I thought it was a good idea to meet him there. He would be living with his aunt, and so his mother gave him a budget for some IKEA furniture for his bedroom. We'd gotten only as far as the chairs. He'd picked out a computer chair, a reading chair and a couch, before he'd exceeded his budget. I pointed out this was unfair to his mother, and meltdown number 1 occurred as he justified the need for all these places to sit. It was scary, so I cried. People stared. It was awkward. When we'd finally made it to the cafe, I couldn't read the menu because it was in the native language. I asked him a few times, "Hey, is that chicken?" and he just wouldn't respond to me. I just figured I'd eat later, but when it came time to order and I didn't know what I wanted, he absolutely blew a gasket. This somehow turned into an argument about how I needed to eat better so I could be strong enough to carry his children. Buddy, the frick? This caused me to cry even more in utter confusion and fear I was unsafe in a foreign country with a monster. We sat at the table together as he loudly berated and shoveled food into his mouth and I just bawled. Eventually some people approached us and asked if everything was okay, but I couldn't understand or speak to them. Easily one of the most embarrassing public moments of my life. On the bright side, I made it home 3 months later, and he now works in sewage back in the US. I'm really glad you got out of there alright. He sounds like a nightmare. LPT. Go backwards. Eat first. Avoid the showrooms. Go through the household goods and buy your furniture in the warehouse. GF and I do this all the time and we are happy as clams with bellies full of meatballs. I worked at IKEA for 2 years in Smaland, which is the free childcare IKEA provides for shoppers. The worst part of the job was turning away families because their children were not potty trained or met the height requirement. Some families were understanding, most were not. I'll never forget, One family was making a huge screaming fuss because I was not allowing their 2-year-old to enter because she was under the height requirement. The father pressed his daughter against the wall so roughly, using his hand below her neck to push her head up, practically choking her. Trying to change my mind, I had to walk away because at that point, the child was crying from being so uncomfortable. Smelland was one of the most terrible retail jobs I've ever had. Parents can be ruthless. IKEA must be where you go to see how strong your relationship is. My now ex-wife at the time and I were already having regular fights. I'll admit, I'm really a typical guy in that I have a limit for browsing crap in a store I'm not interested in. Add crowds and it's doubly miserable. However, I'm usually able to put on a good face and just grit my teeth through it. But that trip to the IKEA store, I swear we were that couple with the woman walking 10 feet ahead of the man and we didn't speak the whole 2-hour trip home. First date is to pick a restaurant to go to IKEA, build some IKEA furniture, play Uno, and then play a ranked game of League of Legends. See how crap works out. You could set up a 24-hour television channel that streamed nothing but continuous meltdowns from around the globe all day and all night. Going to IKEA should be used as a test for young couples to decide how well they can handle stressful situations. I hope someone was following us yesterday, because I went to IKEA in Westchester with my husband and mother-in-law. Note, this was not my idea. We were looking for a Reading chair for me. Mill kept suggesting very industrial looking designs, with either very low arms or no arms at all. I was trying to explain that her suggestions did not make for comfortable Reading. My Mill's response was, "You read too much. You should read less." I was speechless for about 2 minutes. Then I basically turned into Gollum and hiss whispered, "What the heck is wrong with you?" She proudly answered, "A person who doesn't read." You know, if you were to mention the hours she wastes watching Real Housewives or whatever classifies as trash TV nowadays, that she would be horribly offended. At the one I work, somebody brought a pet pig into the store, and it shat several places. But we get a lot of crap in the fake apartment's toilets. That brings on employee meltdowns. Oh man, not a family meltdown, but here's the story of the craziest woman I've ever had to deal with. We have an Az's section, which is full scratch and dent or discontinued items we sell at a discount. This lady, C, walks up to my cash lane with 2 plants, and before I even get to scan them, she says those are both $4. Thinking that's a bit suspicious, I pick them both up. One is clearly marked as an Az's item. The other has the standard barcode. I try to explain to her that only one of them is $4. The other will be full price. Her face immediately turned red, and she demands I call back to Az's. I call down there. They come up and confirm that it's not their product, so she wants a manager. Call a manager, M. And as soon as M gets there, this woman starts berating her. "See, your cashier won't give me the right price for this plant. I'm running out of patience and I don't have time for her to learn to do her job right. I knew how to do my job. She'd just clearly never been told no before. M, I'm sorry mom. Rules are rules and I can't give you a special discount. Is there anything else I can?" C's face turned almost purple and I legitimately thought she was going to explode. "I don't care what you have to say. You're about to lose so much business. I shop here all the time. This place will close down without my money. Teach your little B cashier to do her freaking job right or I'm never coming back." M, she's doing her job right. You need to leave before I call security. Close your lane down. Take a break if you need to. We won't be helping this lady anymore. See, you can't do that. She could and she did. I'm just glad I had a manager who didn't take crap at the time, but this woman had a total meltdown. TLDR. Crazy lady wanted a cheaper plant, didn't get her way, turned purple. 8 years from selling kitchens at IKEA. I've seen and heard a lot. The worst meltdown that comes to mind is about a couple who were there getting a new kitchen for their burned down house. They were both feeling a bit off, a bit strange. While being polite and communicating properly, they seemed drifted. A bit further down our dialogue, when I asked about what method of delivery they preferred, I found out their garage and car was burned down too. In fact, everything they owned was burned down. I asked how that happened and the guy answered in a strange but loving tone, "I married this wonderful woman. She was a foreigner and it turned out her own family father, had done it. Their body language and the tone of their voices said 1,000 times more about the situation they were in, about the fighting they had done to be together than I am able to express here. It was both sad and beautiful. I adore that couple, still hope and wish them the best future. IKEA can bring out the worst in people. Girlfriend woke me up the day after a company drinking event. She said let's go get breakfast. In my mind I am thinking fantastic, I'll get some food in me then head home and pass out. We drive to IKEA. In the back of my mind I am thinking okay well good cheap breakfast works for me. Nope. We proceeded to get a cart and walk through the store. My brain still not fully functioning starts going okay well we need like one thing. She'll just write the code down and we will get it real quick. An hour later, my hangover has gone from hey, there's a little bit of construction in the back to we are going to need to drill underneath the slab. I am balancing off the shopping cart like an old man with a walker trying to keep it together while stomach is doing handstands inside me. Now I will say that I love my soap but we had stopped at every display to talk over about it like it was museum art and I was starting to lose it. So is having a grand time looking, touching and sitting on things. She's trying to get me all pumped for all the stuff we are going to have to build. Little chairs, desks, bookcases. I am not even focused on any of it. No food in me. Slow walking around shouting children. PA speakers blaring about curtains. We finally get to the couch section and she is taking her sweet time choosing the right fabric. She's holding up swatches and asking about different colors and the statement that it would make about us. At this point I am thinking I'm going to die standing right here after I crap my pants in IKEA talking about couch colors. Can we grab food now? It's past close to 10:30, let's just wait until lunch. To be clear, my civil composure was being held together by the thought of food and now I just learned that was not happening. She holds up a swatch of pale goldenrod and asks for my opinion. The veins in my head feel like they are pumping molasses. Goldenrod? Are you kidding me? You choose the ugliest color of a list of 10. How did you even manage that? Get the dark blue and let's go already. People around me audibly gasped at me. Did you hear what he just said to that poor woman? etc. etc. My girlfriend looks at me and goes what the frick is wrong with you? I just want some eggs and bacon. I am on the verge of tears. My girlfriend looks at me and I could see that there is a sudden moment of clarity in her eyes. Wait. Are you hungover? I am past hungover. I'm dying. Get the couch in whatever color you want. Just bury me on the way out. OMG, I had no idea. She took me by the arm and led me out. I got 2 egg McMuffins, 2 hash browns, coffee and a 5-hour nap. We later ordered the couch for delivery with dark blue covers and a second goldenrod cover. My GF and I have a rule: no IKEA on hangovers. One time a lady came up to me freaking out that IKEA had discontinued her favorite cookie. I had to call the manager and she just yelled at him that her therapy dog had just died and she needed that cookie. Another time a Russian family was asking for queen-sized sheets, but with the accent it sounded like Gavin. I just stood there dumbfounded as they repeated Gavin over and over. My favorite has got to be the family of 5 ranging from maybe 1550. Incredibly vocal Middle Eastern family that had almost zero English skills between them. I had the unfortunate task of informing them through a translator that the bunk bed they had ordered was in stock, but was in the air in the self-serve area and not currently available, so they could come and pick it up after close. Well, that wasn't good enough for them and all 5 of them threw themselves onto the ground and just flat out began wailing. To keep this in perspective, they had ordered this bed at $2,055. The store closes at 2,100. They had to wait an extra 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes to get their product. When they see that wailing doesn't seem to be working for them, they begin to take items of other people's trolleys and taking them outside to their car, all while yelling at the top of their lungs. At this point security are with them trying to calm them down. 10 minutes into this, the bunk bed has been brought down and is ready to hand out. Even after being informed that their order is ready, this family carries on for another 30 minutes and security was forced to call the police. 10 minutes later, the police walked through the door and the family immediately stopped everything they were doing and just simply walked out of the store and left. It was an interesting sight for us and a pretty terrible experience for all the other customers there at the time. Not an IKEA employee, but I was at the IKEA in Wembley in London and basically ended up wandering through the shop behind a mother and daughter. The mother was probably about 80 and the daughter about 50. They were bickering with each other the entire time and in the worst possible place, the section with the stacks of wine glasses in the aisle. The mother said something and walked off, and the daughter grabbed her by the hair and dragged her backwards. They both fell into the big display of wine glasses and smashed the crap out of it. Didn't seem like they got cut up, but I moved out of there quickly as they were still fighting, so didn't see the end result. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.